Hey everyone, have you ever wondered what it really takes to win elections? To like influence people and actually get things done in the world of politics?
Oh, yeah.
Well, today
Sure.
we are going behind the scenes with none other than former President Bill Clinton
That's right.
himself. We're diving deep into his personal rules, his rules of politics.
Oh, I like that.
which he's shared in his new memoir, Citizen, My Life After the White House.
Very cool.
And hey, if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives, these explorations of fascinating topics, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more.
I love that. We've got excerpts coming straight from the book itself.
Straight for the horse's mouth.
Plus, we've got some really insightful coverage from People magazine.
Oh, nice.
And believe me, these rules, they're more than just political strategy.
Oh, yeah.
They're packed with wisdom. This applies to all of us, whether we're running for office or just navigating our daily lives, like everybody. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends who might find it interesting too.
Spread the love.
Absolutely. And as we unpack these rules, we want to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
Which ones resonate with you? Which ones do you disagree with?
Let us know.
Drop your comments below. Let's get a conversation going.
I like it.
Build a community.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump right in. Clinton kicks things off with rule #1. Never tell anyone to go to hell unless you can make them go.
Ooh.
He attributes this gem to Sam Rayburn, the legendary Speaker of the House, who apparently gave this advice to a young Lyndon B. Johnson.
Wow.
Now, this rule, it sounds a bit harsh, right?
A little bit.
At first glance, but
Yeah.
it really speaks volumes about the importance of wielding power effectively.
Right.
So in politics, you don't make threats. You can't back up.
Exactly.
It's about strategic thinking, weighing your options, and understanding the consequences of your actions. It's like, think before you speak.
It's like that old saying, don't start a fight you can't finish.
Right.
Only in this case, the stakes are a lot higher than, just a schoolyard scuffle.
For sure. So is this rule just about being ruthless? Or is there a deeper lesson here about choosing your battles wisely and using your influence effectively?
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you think in the comments section.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Is it just about being ruthless, or is there something more there? And I think the answer lies in the context. Sometimes, standing your ground and drawing a line in the sand.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
It is necessary, yeah. Even
Right.
if it means like a confrontation. But, doing so, it requires careful consideration. You have
Yeah.
to have a clear understanding of like your own leverage
Yeah.
and the potential repercussions.
Right. It's about wielding power responsibly.
Yeah.
Not just for the sake of winning every battle, but for achieving your ultimate goals.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a bit of wisdom hidden in this seemingly aggressive rule.
Perhaps.
Let's move on to rule #2. Never drink in public. You might act like yourself. This one made me smile
I like that one.
because it really highlights the constant pressure politicians face to maintain a certain image.
Absolutely. Every move they make is scrutinized, analyzed, and often like completely blown out of proportion.
That's crazy.
So even a moment of just letting loose could be, spun into a totally negative narrative.
Oh, for sure.
It's a reminder that in politics, perception is reality.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means sacrificing a bit of authenticity.
Like who you really are.
just to maintain that control over your public image.
It's a tough.
It's a tightrope walk.
It's fascinating, right? Because on one hand, we want our leaders to be relatable, genuine, even a little bit flawed.
Right.
But on the other hand, we hold them to these incredibly high standards of behavior. How do you think politicians today navigate this delicate balance between being themselves and managing their public image?
That's a great question. I mean,
Tough.
yeah, it's a tough one. That's a great question for our viewers. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know.
Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Okay. All right, let's see what rule #3 has in store. Clinton says, whenever you hear it's nothing personal, brace yourself. Ooh, I think this one goes way beyond politics.
Yeah,
Haven't we all heard that phrase
Believe
before
me.
something unpleasant is about to happen?
all the time. It's that classic line before bad news, a tough decision or a move that impacts you negatively. And in politics, this could be anything from a policy shift that affects your constituents to a backroom deal that leaves you out in the cold.
Right.
That nothing personal just masks this calculated move
Narver.
that just serves someone else's interests.
Yeah, totally. So how do you think we can apply this rule to our own lives? How do we recognize when someone is trying to downplay the impact of their actions on us? How do you know?
That's where reading between the lines comes in. Pay attention to the actions, not just the words. If someone's decisions consistently seem to benefit them at your expense, it might be time to reevaluate the relationship, whether it's professional or personal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good point. Okay, moving on to rule #4. When someone can shift the heat from himself to you, prepare to be barbecued.
Ooh, that's a good one.
This one's a bit ominous, isn't it?
It certainly is. It perfectly captures that blame game that's often played in politics. When things go wrong, somebody has to be held accountable. And all too often, it's easier to point the finger at somebody else
Way easier
than to own up to your own mistakes.
Oh, it's so true.
It's so much easier.
It's like deflecting responsibility becomes a survival tactic in that high-stakes environment.
Right.
Do you think that's always a conscious, manipulative move? Or is it sometimes a subconscious defense mechanism? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it probably varies depending on the situation and the people involved. I think some individuals are just masters of manipulation. You know, they're just strategically shifting blame to protect their own interests.
Yeah, for sure.
But sometimes it could be a more instinctive response, to pressure and fear of failure. It's a fascinating, psychological dynamic, isn't it?
It is.
The way we respond to pressure, the lengths we go to
protect ourselves.
Yeah, to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And in politics, the stakes are so high.
Oh, for sure.
That even a small misstep can have major consequences.
Absolutely. It makes you think about the kind of resilience and emotional intelligence it takes to thrive in that kind of environment.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on to rule #5. Everyone is for change in general, but often against it in particular. It depends on whose ox is being gored. This one is so true, don't you think? We all love the idea of progress, of making things better, but when those changes start hitting close to home, impacting our routines or comfort zones or our wallets, that's when the resistance kicks in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the classic NMB syndrome. Not in my backyard.
Right.
And it's a challenge for any leader who's trying to implement meaningful change. How do you balance the needs of the collective with the individual anxieties and the pushback that inevitably arises?
It's a tough balancing act, right? Because change, by its very nature, disrupts the status quo. And that can be unsettling for people, even if those changes ultimately benefit them in the long run.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the importance of communication, transparency, and building trust when it comes to leading people through periods of transition.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it's a reminder that true leadership isn't just about having a vision. It's about bringing people along on that journey.
Yeah.
Addressing their concerns, helping them navigate those inevitable bumps in the road.
I like that.
Okay.
Let's see what Clinton has to say about money in rule #6. When people say, it's not a money problem, they're always talking about someone else's problem. This one's a bit cynical, but I think there's a lot of truth to it.
There is. It highlights the disconnect that can exist between those in power
For sure.
and the everyday realities of people who are struggling to make ends meet.
Right.
When you're financially secure, it's really easy to just dismiss the importance of money in other people's lives.
Right.
It's just not something that you think about.
Yeah, it's a reminder about the importance of empathy, right?
Yeah.
Of trying to understand the challenges that others face, even if those challenges are outside of our own personal experience.
Exactly. And for those of us who are, in positions of privilege, I think it's a call to action to use our resources and our influence
To help others.
to advocate for policies that create a more equitable society for everybody.
I love that. Okay, this next one is my favorite. It's so vivid and thought-provoking. Rule #7. If you see a turtle on a fence post, it didn't get there by accident. I love that imagery.
That's a good one.
It immediately makes you think about all the unseen forces at play, all the strategizing and maneuvering that happens behind the scenes in politics. How did that turtle get up there?
Yeah. It's a brilliant analogy.
It is.
Isn't it?
It is.
It reminds us that, nothing in politics happens by chance. There's always a story, a series of decisions,
Right.
a web of relationships that led to that particular outcome. And it's up to us as engaged citizens to try to understand those dynamics, to connect the dots.
Connect the dots.
And see the bigger picture.
It's like we're all detectives, in a way, trying to piece together the clues and figure out what's really going on. And that's part of what makes politics so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
The constant puzzle, a game of strategy and perception.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we can't always take things at face value. We have to like dig deeper,
Yeah.
ask questions,
Right.
be willing to challenge the narratives that are
Skepticalness?
presented to us. Yeah, be skeptical.
Okay. Rule #8 takes a slightly more humorous approach. When you start to have a good time, you're supposed to be somewhere else.
It's true.
Kind of makes you feel for politicians, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're always on the go, always under pressure to perform, always having to be on.
It speaks to the relentless pace of public life.
Yeah.
There's always another event to attend, another speech to deliver, another constituent to meet. You know,
Yeah.
it takes a certain type of personality to thrive in that kind of environment.
Right. It makes you wonder about the toll it takes on their personal lives, their relationships, their own well-being.
Right.
Do you think it's possible to maintain a healthy work-life balance
It's a good question.
when you're constantly in the public
That's
eye?
a great question. That's a great question for our viewers.
That's
What do
it.
you guys think?
Let us know.
Let us know in the comments below.
I'd love to hear from you. Now, for a rule that's not just relevant to politicians, but to all of us,
Okay.
rule #9, you're always most vulnerable when you feel invulnerable or when you're angry and exhausted.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's such a powerful insight into human nature, isn't it?
It is.
When we're feeling confident and successful, we tend to let our guard down,
Right.
which can make us more susceptible to mistakes or poor decisions.
It's that classic idea of hubris, right? The ancient Greeks believed that like excessive pride inevitably leads to downfall. And I think this rule reminds us that no matter how successful or accomplished we become, it's important to like stay grounded,
Yeah.
to maintain a sense of humility
Be humble.
and to recognize like our own limitations.
Absolutely. And the part about being angry and exhausted is so relatable too. We've all been there, right?
Oh, yeah?
When we're running on fumes,
For sure.
both emotionally and physically,
Yeah.
it's harder to think clearly, to control our impulses, and to make sound judgments.
For sure. It's a reminder to prioritize self-care,
Yes.
to set boundaries, to recognize when we need to step back and recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're pushing ourselves beyond our limits, we're just more likely to make decisions that we later regret.
Yes, 100%. Okay, let's see what rule #10 have to say about dealing with criticism. Take criticism seriously, but not personally. Clinton says this is when he learned from Hillary, and that it's well explained in The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, interesting.
Now, I'm curious to hear more about that connection. Can you tell us a little bit about The 4 Agreements and how it relates to this rule?
Sure. The 4 Agreements, it's a self-help book
Right.
that like outlines a code of conduct for like personal freedom and happiness. And one of the key agreements is like, don't take anything personally.
Right.
And the idea is that other people's opinions and actions, they're often a reflection of their own beliefs and experiences, you know, not a judgment on you as a person.
So how do we apply this to politics, where criticism is often personal and attacks can be brutal?
It's about like separating the message from the messenger.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that like even when criticism is harsh or unfair, there might be a kernel of truth or like a valuable lesson to be learned. But it's also about protecting yourself from like taking on that negativity and emotional baggage that comes with those personal attacks.
Yeah. It's a tough skill to master, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the age of social media, where everyone has a platform to express their opinions, and criticism can come from all directions.
Absolutely.
But it's a crucial skill for anyone in the public eye or anyone who wants to live a more peaceful and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Right.
Learning to like detach from that negativity and focus on the constructive feedback can be incredibly liberating.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Rule #11 gets straight to the point.
Yeah.
If you want to bring your feelings to work, get into another line of work. This one seems a bit harsh, but I can see how it applies to politics, where decisions often have to be made based on logic and strategy rather than emotions.
Right. Politics is a high-stakes game.
Yeah.
And while compassion and empathy are important qualities for any leader,
Yeah.
there are times when you have to like compartmentalize your feelings and make those tough decisions based on what's best for the greater good.
Right. It's about maintaining a certain level of detachment.
Yeah.
Right. Not letting your personal emotions cloud your judgment or influence your actions.
Exactly. It's not about like being heartless or uncaring,
No.
but about recognizing that like in certain situations, you have to prioritize the needs of the many over the feelings of the few.
Right. Tough decisions.
Tough decisions. It comes with the territory.
It does. Okay. Rule #12 takes a more optimistic turn. It's a reminder that even in the cynical world of politics, there's still hope for human connection and redemption.
Yeah.
Clinton says, don't give up on people if you dig long enough. There's almost always still a person down there somewhere.
I love that.
That's nice.
This rule speaks to, I think, Clinton's belief in like the inherent goodness of people, even those who might seem like lost or misguided. Right?
It's a reminder that everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And that beneath the surface, there's often a deeper well of compassion and understanding.
Yeah. It's about seeing the potential in others, even when they don't see it themselves. And that kind of optimism, that willingness to believe in the good in people can be a powerful force for change.
Absolutely. It's about fostering a culture of empathy and understanding, even in the face of disagreement or conflict.
For sure.
All right, we've reached the final rule, and this one is particularly intriguing.
Okay.
Because Clinton added it after the 2016 election.
Oh, wow.
Rule #13. If you're ever in the room with someone who says, but you're going to win anyway, smile, thank them for their time, and get out of that room as fast as you can. What do you make of this one?
This rule is so insightful because it exposes the hollowness of certain types of like political support.
Okay.
Those who offer their support with a but attached, you know, they're often signaling like a lack of genuine commitment. They're hedging their bets, trying to stay on the winning side, but not willing to put in the real effort.
Right. It's like they're saying, I'll support you as long as it's convenient and doesn't require any real sacrifice on my part.
Exactly. And in politics, as in life, it's important to like surround yourself with people,
Good people
who are truly in your corner.
Yes.
You know,
your tribe.
Those who believe in your vision and are willing to fight alongside you even when the going gets tough.
Those are the people you want in your corner.
Yeah.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Clinton's rules of politics are a fascinating blend of strategy, cynicism, optimism, and wisdom. What are some of the key takeaways that stand out to you?
For me, it's the emphasis on understanding human nature.
Yes.
Whether you're in politics or any other field, the ability to like read people, to understand their motivations, and to build like genuine relationships is crucial for success.
So we've got Clinton's playbook, his personal rules of politics. Yeah. But here's the big question. Do these rules, do they still hold true in today's world? Is this just kind of a nostalgic glimpse into like a bygone era of politics?
Right.
Or are these like timeless principles that can help us navigate the complexities of power and influence no matter what field we're in? Do they apply to business?
Right.
To our relationship?
For life in general.
To life in general, right.
That's a question worth pondering. The political landscape has certainly evolved since Clinton's time in office. You think about like the rise of social media, the 204/7 news cycle,
That's crazy.
The increasing polarization of our society. These factors have undoubtedly like changed the game.
Right. It's a completely different playing field now. So how do these rules, how do they hold up in the age of Twitter wars and viral sound bites? You know what I mean?
I think there's a surprising amount of relevance.
Yeah.
Even in today's like fast-paced, digitally driven world.
Okay.
Because while the tools and tactics might have changed, the underlying principles of like human behavior, they remain remarkably constant.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Let's take rule #2. Never drink in public. You might act like yourself. Now, this might seem like quaint.
A little bit.
In an era where every politician's like gaffe or slip up is instantly captured and shared online.
It's crazy.
But the core principle of image management, it's like more relevant than ever. Yeah. In fact, it's arguably like even more challenging in a world where every tweet, every Instagram post, every public appearance is meticulously scrutinized and analyzed.
That's a great point. Politicians today have to be even more careful about crafting their public persona because there's so much more opportunity for slip-ups, for those like unguarded moments that can be taken out of context and used against them. And think about rule #4, the one about shifting the blame. Hasn't that become even more prevalent in today's like hyper-partisan environment where it's often easier to point fingers and like demonize your opponents than to engage in constructive dialogue?
Absolutely. It seems like the blame game has been taken to like a whole new level.
It really has.
And social media has definitely like amplified that tendency, creating these like echo chambers where people only hear information that reinforces their existing beliefs.
Right. It's become harder to have nuanced conversations, to acknowledge different perspectives, to find common ground. And that's where some of Clinton's other rules, like Rule #10, about taking criticism seriously but not personally, become even more crucial.
Exactly. It's about developing that emotional resilience, that ability to filter out the noise and focus on the substance of the criticism.
Yeah.
Even when it's coming from a place of anger or hostility.
Right. And I think that ties back to Rule #12, the one about not giving up on people.
Right.
Even in a world that feels increasingly divided, it's important to hold on to that belief that we can find common ground, that we can bridge the divides if we're willing to put in the effort.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, even in the midst of disagreements. And it's about having the courage to engage in those difficult conversations.
For sure.
To listen with empathy and to seek understanding rather than just trying to win an argument.
I love that.
Yeah.
So if we were to distill all of this wisdom into a single takeaway,
yeah,
what would you say is the most important lesson we can learn from Clinton's rules of politics?
I think it's this. Understanding human nature is paramount, no matter what field you're in.
Right.
Whether you're leading a team, negotiating a deal, building a movement, or just trying to navigate your own personal relationships, having that insight into what motivates people, what makes them tick.
What makes them tick,
can make all the difference.
It's like having a secret weapon, a decoder ring, for understanding the complexities of human behavior.
Exactly. And it's a skill that can be honed and refined over time,
Yeah.
through observation, experience, and a willingness to learn from both our successes and our failures.
I like that a lot. Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Clinton's rules of politics, we want to hear from you, our listeners.
Yeah.
Which rules resonated with you the most? Which ones do you think are outdated? And most importantly, what are your own personal rules of life that have guided you through challenges and helped you achieve success?
Let us know.
Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspectives and continue this conversation.
Absolutely.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes. We've got some fascinating topics lined up, and we can't wait to explore them with you. Until then, keep those minds curious and stay engaged.